Hey again. Well, I was praying today at synagogue, and I have this way of the way I've always prayed, which has always been to bring people into my trance space of prayer. And it's like I'll just bring everyone in, everyone that I can think of, really, everyone, and let like my soul's connection with them alchemize into a purified state. But today, for the very first time in my whole adult life, I prayed differently, and something else came to me, and it was this idea that I need to speak to the public. So here we are, and this is the second video I've made just in this one day after getting that message. So I want to talk, I'm just literally letting whatever comes out come out. I want to talk about touch, the human need for touch, and how touch deprived so many people are, especially single people, people without close families, people without kids, people without pets. Yeah, I think it's like fueling a lot of the addictions in society, a lot of the internet addictions. And so I like have this kind of a hyper awareness of my need for touch. And, you know, I have a lot of touchy-feely people in my sphere, and, you know, my own status in terms of how much touch I'm accessing is always changing. But sometimes I notice it can be really hard to access touch when I need it, really hard. And I notice that like a lot of people in my sphere don't necessarily think about the need for touch as much as I do. And that kind of bothers me because I sometimes feel like I have to be the one to ask for touch or to initiate it. And there are like other obstacles that I have with touch that maybe some people don't have. So I'm aware of that, and just like this vision I have of a society where touch can be abundantly accessed by people who want it and need it, like a mutual need and consensually. So, gosh, I hate talking about pets because it's a controversial topic, and I just don't even really want to talk about controversial topics. And I was even just talking about I was talking to my friend about why I don't want to talk about controversial topics. And the main reason is because I think with controversial topics, it's like people want to know which side you're on, you know, are you pro or anti this, that, or the other thing? And then if you're on the opposite side of whatever the person listening is on, then you know, you're irrelevant to them. They don't want to listen. And it might be a little different in real life or with people that are very close to us, or, you know, there are situations where people do listen to something that's opposing their own view. But a lot of the time it seems to turn into like more of a debate and less of an opportunity to be heard and to hear one another. So when I embarked upon this journey today of speaking to the public, I decided I don't want to talk about things in a controversial way. And, you know, I think it's because it feels more vulnerable actually not to talk about things in a controversial way, because I want to talk about things as a human to other humans. So like my intention is to get in touch with the core, the depths of my humanity, and to reach people from that space. And if I start getting into like moralistic, what's right, what's wrong, what I believe, what you believe, things like that, then it's like, not only do I lose you, but I also lose myself. I lose my connection to my source and my inner being. Because even if I have viewpoints, my inner being is just my inner being. It just exists. It's just here. It doesn't really have opinions or viewpoints necessarily, if that even makes sense, but that's what feels true in this moment, is that there's this like deep part of myself that has needs and desires and ideas, but doesn't really have viewpoints, and like I personally as a human do have a lot of viewpoints, but a lot of those kind of, they exist in my mind, as they do for many of us. And not to discount that, that's all very important. And, we need our mental capacities, we need to discern, we need to think about things, we need to debate things even, we need to really seriously, critically think about things. It's important. And there's like this deeper level that we can access, that I can access, that feels like more essential and more groundbreaking, really. Like, in a way, I think we're more likely to, quote unquote, convince each other of something with our hearts than with our brains. And I have a very active brain. I have the brain of a lawyer, of a debater. My brain is very preoccupied a lot of the time with explaining myself, with proving ideas wrong or right. Sometimes I wonder like how to make good use of my brain, because it's very, very engaged in debate. It's very engaged in debate, right up there in there. It knows a lot, and it has a lot of you could call it self-righteousness, but I think it has a lot of logic, and it's very uncomfortable with poor logic, with things that it perceives as wrong. But I feel like this impulse, this instinct I have that like I really need to speak to you, speak to the public, is coming from the heart. That's what needs to speak. It's not about unloading the contents of my brain, but it's about how deep can I go in my heart space, and what from there needs to be spoken. And what are the struggles? What struggles are going on in there? Because I think a lot of us are struggling, with things right now. And some of those it's good to name, like what about internet addiction? What about lack of touch? What about lack of creative opportunities? Lack of play? Something I experienced yesterday was just what I always experience when I read my writing out loud to others in person, in real life, is like I read some of my poetry, And some of my poetry, I just want to confess, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but I feel that it's very, very true. And I think that other people also don't know what it means. And I'm not sure if they are feeling that it's very, very true the way I do. But it doesn't matter in a sense. And that's something I keep coming back to, is like, I need to read my writing out loud, whether or not other people understand it, whether or not I understand it. It's like these codes that have been coming to me, you know, my whole adult life. I get these poetic codes. And sometimes, especially after I read them out loud, it's like they'll go over and over in my head. And it's a really good thing when they go over and over in my head, even if I don't know what they mean. It's almost like the words are like musical notes. So it's almost like I'm listening to a song and I don't have to know, quote unquote, what it means. It just sounds right. And the sound that sounds right is healing to my soul, to my body. It brings me embodiment. It brings me a sense of relief. It brings me like exactly the food that I need to be here on this earth. So I keep reading my writing out loud. And I know I need to keep doing that. I guess this video is getting long. I should stop. Especially because it's like a lot of people these days make videos for other people, like as a business strategy, or maybe that's just what's coming through them, is messages for other people. But the way I feel my oracle is coming through is not to try to speak a message to other people, but to just speak whatever is coming through me, whatever I need to say, whatever my being is calling me to say, and to trust that whoever listens to it will get what they need out of it. So I don't have to like prescribe anything or have some kind of answer or thesis or even like quote unquote point of what I'm saying. I watch YouTube videos quite a bit. There are some people I really get a lot out of watching their videos. And a lot of them are talking more like to the audience, like they have something to say to benefit the audience. And I don't know, like, if this style that I'm talking in right now is something that other people really do. Maybe, I'm sure some people do, it's just like, okay, here I am just talking for a long time about what's on my mind and heart. And, who has the attention span to listen to such a long video that's not even focused on a particular problem to be solved? But I think my goal, though, is to like access the depths of a certain vibration in my being and to be able to transmit that through the words. Because something I think a lot of us are lacking is like a deep level of connection and like how to access that these days, Most of us hopefully have a few friends who we can access it with. Maybe some people have a lot of friends they can access it with, or, there are groups, classes, trainings, all kinds of spaces to intentionally access this. But, that requires resources, time, going somewhere perhaps. So anyway, all right, I'm going to end this because I think I've spoken enough for now. But I just want to say, if you are listening to this, thank you. I really feel this call and I'm going to stick with it. So, let me know, like, if this is inspiring anything for you, if it's accessing anything in you, and if you have any reflections or ruminations about this approach to like talking to the public. To like accessing a deep part of the heart and just stream of consciousness, speaking from there. All right. Happy solstice.